All right, so a lot of times I talk about thoughts, your mindset, your the words that you use. And there's people that I see who struggle in life for year after year after year, and the word choices actually dictate and reveal their level in life. It actually dictates like your level spiritually as well. What are your thoughts now that we coach together, and we've coached a lot of people, and you've ran um, your a church and everything. What is your kind of outlook on the words that people use, and is there power in words? Like, what is it? Does it mean anything?
For sure, big time. I mean, words are like they're like a rudder on a ship. Like they'll direct your life, and all you have to do to like really kind of figure out where someone is at is just let them talk for a little while, and you can hear. You were saying the other day on the coaching call, like you listen for the language, like I should, or I'll try, different things like that, where people don't even realize the words that they're choosing to use, like that's actually sabotaging your future results.
Yeah, like your words are the fertilizer to your future. Whenever I hear people talk, say if I run into them at the gas station or at the grocery store or wherever it may be, like, and I start talking to them, it's like nails on a chalkboard at this point, because I'm like, like, dang, like every time they speak, I'm like, you're literally uh, creating your own future, and you're complaining about your current situation, but you're also keeping that future going by the way that you're talking. But people don't even realize it. Like, why I know I have my opinion on why that happens, but why do people do that? Like, why do they not see it, and why do they continue to just keep using that same language?
Well, I kind of want to hear I want to hear why you think it is actually. Why do you think people do that? And why do they keep getting stuck in that?
Well, first off, I don't even think that they're aware
Yeah.
to it. So it's like when we get people on the program and we start getting them to drop vices, get some structure in their life, uh, raise their standards, they realize how shitty that they were living before. So it's not really a question of like a choice. They don't even know
They're
that
not,
they're
yeah.
choosing it.
They're unaware.
They're unaware, and that is their standard
Yeah.
because of how they were raised, and that's how their parents talk. That's their
Right.
friends. They talk like that. But this is a bigger issue of that's a tool.
Yeah.
That's cultural. That's what the devil tries to instill in communities, in neighborhoods, in households, and that it's more of a tool than anything. So to get everybody thinking in a certain way and thinking it's acceptable, that's the goal right there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's programmed basically. And like I think we're talking about words and the power of words, and like your thoughts become your words become your kids' thoughts, so like it's just this endless perpetual cycle of like people, they talk about generational curses, but some of it's just like you're conditioned to think a certain way because of the words, like you said, you heard your parents use all the time. Like I think a lot of like scarcity and poverty way of thinking, a lot of victim mindset, a lot of that like gets passed on because of like how your parents spoke about certain things. Like there's power in the way that you talk about something.
Absolutely. One of my goals is to help people realize that your words are powerful. And where do words derive from? They derive from what's on your heart and what's in your heart. And so part of the program and how I lead people is how to purify your heart,
Yeah.
how to create like a solid, gushing heart that is just gold. Most people's heart, it's like fear, doubt, And I mean, we can keep going with what's on people's heart. It's money, like the love of money.
Yeah.
It's women in more of a lustful way. And lust is basically something that is never going to satisfy you. Like, it's just, you just go down the list, and I'm like, that's where the words are coming from. And there's that scripture that you talked about on our coaching call, and you talk about it a lot, like, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks.
Yep.
Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. So the words are coming from your environment, the atmosphere in your heart.
It is so true. And I think one of the things that we were talking about that on that coaching call was like, we have our clients do a lot of journaling, right? And I think that the journaling helps a lot with like restructuring the way you think about certain things and all that kind of stuff, which, like, that's like seed form. You need to actually, like you said, we're like fixing a lot of things in the way that people are thinking, what's in your heart. But then you have to speak it too. Like, that's a whole other like mode that a lot of people aren't even conscious or tapping into, because behind your words there's energy. Like, your words are powerful because you're agreeing with something. That's actually a spiritual concept. Like, what are you agreeing with that's like unseen?
Absolutely. What that makes me think of is, you brought this up, is we have people journal and write out, like, I've told you this you've heard me say this so many times, like, this isn't Dear Diary,
Right.
you know, I feel like a bitch, you know, I fucked up today, you know, I suck, but I still love myself, and
Yeah.
God loves me too. That's not what we do here.
Yeah.
Journaling is to create and walk into the version of yourself that was always supposed to be you.
Yeah.
There's two identities that you have: the one that your family gave you and the one that God gave you. The one that God gave you is the one that we got to walk into. And we have people write out their identity in present form. So it'd be like, I am a leader, I am a warrior, I love myself, I am courageous, I am bold. These are all declarations.
Yep.
And so when you're talking about words, like, I think about the Bible a lot, how many stories, and you know the Bible way more than me, but I know this concept.
Yeah.
So I look into the Bible, and the Bible is so beneficial to life that you could look in there and you should look for signs, you should look for trends, you should look for systems. And when you start looking in there, you realize that in order to achieve and get your blessing granted to you, you had to get spoken over, or you had to say something. Like, it wasn't good enough to just think it.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of people, they're just like, well, I know God loves me. I'm like, hold on. I know what God planned for me. I'm like, hold on. There's a certain system that you have to go through.
Yeah.
God has to hear you say it.
Yeah.
And you have to believe it. And not many people are willing to. They're like, what? I'm not going to say it. It's not even true. I'm not even there. They're so far behind. That's why what I'm saying, I back it up with the program, the program that we teach, to give them enough confidence to be like, all right, I have the structure. I have people supporting me, and they're going to push me. Okay, I'm going to do this. This is what my coach asked of me. But I'm kind of curious as to know what examples in the Bible that you can remember or you know of where it had to be declared, it had to be spoken, it had to be said. Like, it wasn't official until you said it.
Yeah.
Because people are actually doing it already.
Yeah, they are.
They're just doing it negatively.
Yeah, in the wrong way. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, one that comes to mind, I actually just put it on my Instagram the other day because I was like, I think it was because we were talking about the power of words, and I think you had said on the call, like blessings are actually declared over you. Like, you have to say it, or somebody else has to say it over you. And in the book of Numbers, there's God told he told Moses and Aaron, go say this blessing over the people. And it's like a really cool scripture. It's one of my favorites. It's like, may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and bring you peace.
It's that song.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it says right after, like, there's like 2 or 3 verses of like the actual blessing, and it says, and the Lord himself will be the one who blesses them. So it's like God always works through someone. Like Aaron was the priest, and so he was the one like saying the blessing, but it's actually God's blessing. That's really like the role of, like, you know, what, like, priest, pastor, prophet, whatever, however, like, you're supposed to be like God's messenger. Like, that's
facilitating.
Yeah, you're a vessel. But that's one. There's another one though that's like kind of a little odd, interesting story that I need to refresh my memory on. But there's a story about Balaam and Balak, and he's actually going to pronounce a curse over the Israelites, and God stops him, and he makes his donkey talk to him, which is a crazy story. But instead of cursing them, God's like, no, you're gonna bless them. And he basically forced the blessing. He's like, you're not gonna curse, which is interesting, because it wasn't that God was like, well, there's no power in that curse. There was power in the curse. God stopped him from doing it. And he's like, no, you're not going to curse them. You're going to bless them. So there's countless stories, really. We could go on about that. But there's and the Bible has all kinds of verses about, like, the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah. I mean, the strongest muscle in the body is the tongue, if you think about it. And I just think about, like, our people in the world. I'm like, they are so far behind, they don't even realize that instead of praying, which is usually like a panic prayer, think about just prayer in general. You think that you're doing something good. You think you're doing something right, but it's still coming from a place of fear and doubt and worry, because you're still using your language based off of the environment in your heart, the health of your heart. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, instead of praying, we should be like, no, well, I'm not trying to say like praying. There's a time and place to pray, and there's a time and place to declare. And I think you do both. And we do that on our program, whether people know it or not. I always urge people to spend time in the morning and pray. Pray as much as you can, to be honest with you. Like, but at the same time, make sure you're praying from, like, the utmost belief. Make sure you're praying, your prayers aren't panicked.
Right.
You know? And when you do your I am statements and your journaling, make sure you do them out loud as well. Because all of the things that I've ever written in my journal, all of them have come to pass. Every single one, from how much money I want to earn in that year, my body fat percentage, the community that we have. I wrote this down 4 or 5 years ago. And people, what I'm trying to get across to our people is recognizing that everything that you speak, everything that you touch, you're responsible for. So, I was talking to my dad yesterday. I'm like, you could tell, like, somebody's what's on their heart by how, like, they speak, right? So I've been, I'm a guy, I played sports. I've been around all kinds of different people. I mean, you name it, I've probably been around and heard the conversations. And it's like, if your conversations are still juvenile in the sense of, like, tits, ass, porn, and real vulgar, I'm like, hey, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. That's what's on your mind. That's what's in your heart. So it's like, you gotta be careful at what is on your heart, because you're proclaiming the future of, you're bringing in, you're basically prophesying over yourself. You're bringing it in. So when I think about people and we get them on the program and we start breaking them down, and I know how to break them down, which is basically like restructuring and removing a lot of the stuff that's holding them back, that's causing them to speak like that. If people came and lived with me for 3 months, their whole life would change, but the first thing that would change would be their language.
The way they talk, yeah.
The way they talk, the way they act, the way they conduct themselves, and it would just be then at the end it'll be like, damn dog, you're ripped, you got more money, you know. We got Gilbert here filming the thing, and he's behind, and he's down. He's not down, he's up. You know what I mean? Like his body has completely changed. His bank account has completely changed. He's connected to God. Like went from being in the like so-called like somewhat of the streets to being like living like this. You know, it's a complete life transformation.
Total life change. Yeah.
But going back to just like I mean, it's a huge topic that people overlook.
Yeah.
They overlook it because they're like, I'm a dumbass. I'm like, okay, you got to know the rules of the game here. Like people, uncles, aunts, fathers, your friends, they don't know these things.
Right.
They don't know spiritual laws. They don't know the spiritual rules to the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you wish to elevate in the world, you have to know. That's why I urge people to read the Bible and connect with God, because in doing that, you will gain insight and wisdom as to, oh, this is how I should do life. The problem is that there isn't a V. There isn't a mic on every corner. They're not in the schools. They're not the yard duties at the school when you're 8 years old, 10 years old. They're the ones that are talking negatively. They're the ones overweight. They're the ones who struggle with money, but they believe in God. But that's as far as it goes.
Right. Yeah. No, it's so, like, anytime I hear somebody say something like, I'm a dumbass, I'm like, do you want to be a dumbass? Because, like,
you want to continue to be a dumbass?
Why are you saying that then? Like, if you don't. And, like, taking it kind of back to what you're saying about, like, the vulgar language, like, I'm sure there's people who are like, well, I don't talk like that, so, you know. But I'm like, do you gossip, though? Because, like, that's another thing. Like, whose name is in your mouth right now? Like, how small-minded are you thinking that you have to talk about other? Because the Bible talks an awful lot about gossip too.
I love when you talk about that. How like when we say drop vices, and everybody quickly goes, "Well, I don't have any vices," because I talk a lot about drinking, drugs, and porn. Like those are like the easy ones where people are like, "Well, I don't have any vices." I'm like, and then that's where you come in, because there's vices behind the vices. There's more acceptable vices, and then you hit them, and I'm like, get them. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, tell them, because those ones are equal, if not worse.
They are. It's like you put a dress on a vice, like, oh, you made it cute, but like that ain't cute. Like that's toxic. That'll ruin your life. That'll ruin other people's lives. Like, I think that like gossip, like if you look, it lumps all of those sins together, like sexual immorality, debauchery, gossip, slander, like all of those things, they're lumped together. It's not like an order of importance or an order of how bad it is. It's like, no, like you just got lumped in together with that. So it's not good. I think kind of taking it back to what you were saying, there's different ways of like how you speak and how you pray. When you come to God and you're just like, you're kind of like a mess and you're just messed up, like that, it's not that you can't do that, but when you declare, I think the reason why people miss out on the declarations is because that actually has to come from a place of identity. Like when you declare something, it's like, no, there's like no, I'm standing on this. Like I know who I am because this is who God says I am. And so I have the authority to declare this, that's different. And I think that's kind of a piece that I think a lot of people, but they start to get on the program because they start to understand.
It makes it easier to start letting go of those family members, those friends, because that's part of a lack of identity. When you're like, man, I'm changing, I'm transforming, and people, I feel like this obligation to stay connected, but this feels good over here. I'm like, this is why we push identity so much that way, because when you know your true identity, you'll be like, this is where this feels good, this feels right. Anytime you're away from your real identity, from your real purpose, it's going to be the most painful thing.
Yeah.
Anytime you're off purpose, it's going to be painful and you're going to get punished for it. So when we start showing people this, when we start showing people this lifestyle, it gives them the strength to just, hey, it's lonely when you walk like this, but that's the thing. You find your vibe attracts your tribe. And when you start walking into that real identity, that real leader, you're going to find other leaders right next to you, leaders who are ahead of you. And you enter this community. And that's what we have, savage saints.
Yeah.
That's what we are. Savage saints are not just saints. We're savage. We got both. We got the hard and the soft, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I think what really changed my life wasn't fitness. It wasn't dropping the drink. It was finding my identity. And you find your identity in God.
Yeah.
And that takes sacrifice. It takes connection. It takes you to meditate and pray. And I know anybody listening to this, you'd be like, that sounds good, Mike. Like, I don't know how to do that though. How do you do that? Well, that's where you find somebody like us and you learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Like you've helped me a lot with how to pray and how to connect with God. And I kind of have my own little intuition as to how to do it as well, that
Yeah.
I've helped a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to go there.
Right.
Because I already know that other life. I already know what drinking got me
Yep.
and chasing money got me and building a business. I already know what that is. I could see the end of the road.
Yeah.
And the end of the road was dark.
Yeah.
This other road, I'm like, God is limitless. Like, I know so little, and I actually know quite a bit when it comes to just the general world, but I mean, it's just, there's levels, there's dimensions to it. There's just, it just keeps going. And I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have like this regret and shame.
No, that's true. I think like when you start walking down this path, I think that people, you said like, oh, you like start to like resonate with that identity, but you kind of feel like this separation from like the people around you, like your family members or your friends and that kind of thing. And I think that's one of the things that holds some people back or slows people down. But I think, I mean, we always tell the people on our team, like, you're a leader. Like, you're the change agent, because in order for things to actually change around you, you have to change the things within you first. And so there is a bit of a separation at first. Like, you're growing and they're staying the same. So they're like, you feel that like chasm between you and them. But like the whole point is like, you grow, you get stronger, and then you go lend a hand. Like, you pull them up with you. And I think people think that that's not possible, but that's actually what a leader does.
I've changed and helped people improve their lives, so many of them, and I never close the door fully. I leave the door slightly cracked open for whenever they want to open that door, or whenever I see them approaching, I'll open the door for them a little bit. Because as who I am and who you are, we've lost a lot of relationships that necessarily like weren't your fault or my fault. Like, it calls people out. Like, accountability feels like an attack. And when you're leveling up, you're holding people to the highest standard, and they're like, I don't like that. I don't like you leveling up and making more money. You're pointing out all my weaknesses.
Right.
Now, like you said, how do you change the world? That's like the big question, especially like after the election. Like, do you change the world by watching the news and staying up to date with every single like proposition and what's going on with the news? You change the world by changing yourself. That's the only way. And that starts with your household.
Yeah.
What's going on in your heart,
Right.
your household, and that's what it is.
Yep.
So That's what we're really pushing people to be accountable and responsible for their own vessel, for their own life.
Well, what it reminds me of, like whenever we would have people who would be like, say they were interviewing for a job with us and they'd be like, I just love helping people.
Who have you helped?
Who have you helped? Like that was always our first question. Like, cool, love that. Who have you helped today? Like, who have you helped in the last week? And I like, you could say like, oh, I want more and I want more for my life and I want to help people and I want to be a leader, but like there is something right in front of you right now. Like, what are you doing with what you currently have? And for a lot of people, it's like, how are you leading yourself? Then how are you leading your family? You know, and the answer is like, not at all.
Yeah.
Like most people aren't even leading themselves.
You just hold a mirror up to yourself.
Yeah.
That is the person that you have to change. If you want to multiply your results and money and whatever it is just across the board, you have to take care of what's in front of you right now. Like if you want the house that I'm living in, you see the Lambo, you see the Audi, and you know, I got more in the garage. Like that came from me taking care of the little crop that I had in front of me, the little room that I had. And I'll finish with this, but this is a topic of like habits. What is your habit life? Like your views change, the cars are going to change, the house is going to change, everything's going to elevate, but your habits always remain the same.
Yeah.
When I look 3, 4, 5 years ago, I'm like, I posted one on my Instagram today. 4 years ago, I was doing the same morning process with a nice little caption there, sitting there, connecting with God. I didn't even know truly what I was doing or what. I just knew what not to do.
Yeah.
I knew that all the other stuff that I did before was leaving me empty, basically. And so I've kept those same habits. Now they're better,
Yeah.
they're deeper, they're more powerful, they're more intense, but they've been the same habits. Now my life it keeps changing. You can tell go ahead.
No, I've always liked that line. The habits don't change even if the views change. And I've seen that with you, for both of us. But like I've seen, you know, because I've worked for you for almost 6 years now, and like where I started with you and where, you know, we are now, it's like a whole world different as far as like the views and everything like that. But as far as like you said, the habits, it's exactly the same. Like, haven't missed. We have the stories to prove it.
Absolutely. Every single day, every workout, every journal entry, everything on my Instagram, I have documentation for every day for the past 4.5, 5 years, every single day. So anything that you want to leave with them, the last 1 or 2 gems?
Well, just taking it back to where we started at the beginning, like it's the words that you speak, the thoughts that you think, and then the words that you speak. And you have to capture those thoughts. You have to start becoming aware of the way that you're thinking about yourself, of the way that you're thinking about your life, and then choose your words wisely with it. And because like it does set the direction for your life. Absolutely.